Good evening, Poe fans. Welcome back to Review Morgue.
Woo woo! Let's review more at the morgue.
Yes, and as you can see, Jeannie and I both have black cats. Well, I guess your silhouetted cat could be any kind of cat, but we're going to assume it's black.
Well, it technically it is black because it looks black, but it's the silhouetted black.
Yes, with the blood red moon.
Absolutely. Gotta go for the ambiance.
So the kitty behind me is actually the, I guess you could say, star of the movie that we reviewed, and it was The Black Cat of 1941.
Yes, which is different than the black cat that we previously done, because
Yes.
this is yet again another one. Although it does have some ties, even though it's 1941, it's about 10 years,
Let's
I
see,
think. Or 5, 10 years. I can't remember
seven,
exactly.
seven, because the other one was
7. That's
34.
right. Yeah, so 7. It was close.
And the cool tie is that Bela Lugosi made another appearance in this film. He was a star in the 1934 film, and he really was more supporting cast for this one. He played the groundskeeper Eduardo.
Yes. Yeah, I kind of felt sorry for him, because I mean, he was lead in the first one, but then he was playing support on this one, even though it's Bela Lugosi and he did a great job either way.
Oh, absolutely. And he played a really creepy guy.
Yeah. Well, it's Bela Lugosi. He does that excellently.
Oh yeah. He
He's
he
got the creep factor to the max.
Yes, he does. So, some other people that were in this film,
Mhm.
it was really kind of cool seeing all these people. Uh,
Yep.
Basil Rathbone played the
Hmm.
title character of
Montague.
Montague Hartley.
Yeah,
There
he goes
was
by Monty.
Yes. And then two other, and we'll talk about this before we talk about some of the other actors in the film. Hugh Herbert played Mr. Penny, and Broderick Crawford played A. Gilmore Smith, and they called him
Hmm.
Gil. And as soon as you see them in a car driving to the eerie old mansion, you immediately get the vibes of Abbott and Costello. I mean,
Yes.
sound effects, voices, mannerisms, jokes,
It,
the whole bit.
yeah, it was like they were doing a bit the whole movie.
Yes, and it is portrayed as a comedy adventure horror film, and they definitely had the comedy going on.
Absolutely. They are comedians, very much so.
Absolutely. And then some of the other players were Anne Gwynn played the character of Elaine,
Hmm.
Gladys Cooper, who you might recognize. She was in, let's see, one or two Twilight Zone episodes,
Hmm.
and her name was Myrna. And then Gail Sondergaard played Abigail. She was the
Creepy housekeeper.
yeah, creepy housekeeper for the main character, and who was Henrietta, played by Cecilia Loftus. And then there was another couple people that had smaller parts. Claire Dodd was Margaret Gordon. John Eldridge was Stanley. Alan Ladd, who was Shane in a great Western, very sad ending,
Yes.
played Richard, and Ervil Alderson was Doc Williams. And that's pretty much the basis of the cast.
Yeah. I mean, wait a minute. Who played grandmother?
That the Henrietta. That was Henrietta.
That's right. That's Henrietta.
Was
Okay.
the grandmother. Cecilia Loftus was the actress.
Okay, yeah. And could all I remembered her was grandmother because
Oh.
she didn't look like a grandmother, but she was dressed like a grandmother. She
Mhm.
acted like a grandmother. Actually, who was it? Myrna? Was that her name? Myrna started with an M.
Yeah, Gladys
What?
Cooper's character,
Yes, Myrna.
married to Basil
She,
Rathbone. Yes.
yeah, she looked older than the one that, than the grandmother.
She did, and Alan Ladd's character was the son of Gladys Cooper
Myrna, yeah.
Erna, and I'm assuming Basil Rathbone. He never said dad, father, anything like that.
Stepdad. They did say that he
Okay,
was the stepdad, that he married Myrna for her money.
yes, that's right.
Hmm.
I forgot about that because there was definitely an age difference between the two.
Yes, it was kind of one of those way, December romances.
Yes. And so Albert Rogel, Rogell, was the
Hmm.
director. And just looking at his IMDb, he did a lot of movies from back then, early 30s, even 20s. The Wrecker, Airhawks, Fighting Fate, The Flying Marine, Broken Arrow, which was a TV series.
Hmm.
The 20th Century Fox Hour, another TV series. So just kind of looking him up. So none of those titles just like ring out that, to me of anything big. So this was a
No,
huge ensemble cast that had some cred to their,
yeah, for that time period, they definitely had some background in the industry. And
yes.
then, of course, the ones that had the most cred were the supporting actors.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And here's something that I was reading on the IMDb for this movie. So
Hmm.
apparently, Marlena Dietrich was uh, dating Broderick Crawford at the time in real life. She
Ooh.
stopped by the studio and for the character of, I'm trying to find it, the character I think of Claire. It was
Hmm.
on speaking part, but the Claire character had gone off stage or something, and she stepped in, and I did not catch that. And I thought that's a really cool little thing.
Yeah. Well, same time, same bat channel. She was in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, and it was Claire. I found it. And then
Mhm.
another cool thing on this was that Orson Welles saw this movie and he was very, very impressed with the cinematographer who was Stanley Cortez, that he actually hired him to photograph the Magnificent Ambersons, which was from 1942, which also took place in a Victorian era mansion. So I thought that was kind of a neat thing. So lots of things going on with this movie and, I guess, background, the after effects. So it's pretty cool. And so, Jeannie, do you want to give the synopsis of what it is about?
Yeah, the synopsis of the story, even though it's named The Black Cat, and I love how they made the credits say suggestions from Edgar Allan Poe, because
Yes.
it definitely was very, very loosely,
Yeah, it's all
loosely.
story, but there is one scene that is
Yeah,
right out of the movie, or right out of the
yeah,
story, sorry.
yeah, the story. But this one takes place where a grandmother, the one that plays,
Henrietta.
yeah, Henrietta, thank you. I don't know why I can't think of her name, but Henrietta's character is old, but she is rich. She owns this estate, and she is the epitome of the crazy cat lady.
Yes.
She has cats and cats upon cats. She even has a cat crematorium
Yes.
on the ground, and every time her one of her cats dies, that she cremates it, puts it in an actual Ming vase.
Yes.
She doesn't even scrimp on the vases, and has a nice little memorial and memoriam crema. What is it? Not it's not
Memoriam
the
in the
crematorium and
crematorium.
then more. Yeah, way too ums. Um, and then she even had a plan that when she died, that she was going to be cremated and put with her cats.
Yes.
So I was like, well, part of this was like, whoo, I'm seeing my own future here. But no, I'm not rich, don't have my own thing. Although I would have that many cats. I'm just saying. But the epitome of it is that, of course, like anything else, the regular storyline of older lady has money, surrounded by lazy relatives who are
Mhm.
only out for the money.
Greedy, greedy.
Yeah, greedy, greedy.
Mhm.
And they think at the beginning of the movie that she's dying, but she recovers
Mhm.
until someone decides that, oh, wait, no, that recovery's not going to last,
Yes.
of course.
I want to
And then
add,
that's when the story starts.
yes, and I want to add one thing about the house. So
Hmm.
when Mr. Smith and Mr. Penny arrive, and Mr. Smith is wanting to sell the house for her and move her into a small apartment because he wants basically the commission from selling a house like this. And Mr. Penny is kind of a, what would
He's
you
an antique dealer
Yes, yes. And he's wanting to look at all the things in the house, the furniture
that
especially,
he could get money for.
that he's
But
selling.
Mr.
Yeah.
Smith actually shows up there because one of the greedy relatives told him to
Yes.
come there because she was dying and
Yes.
that he could buy it for $25,000.
Yes. And so when they ring the bell on the outside of the gate, there's
Hmm.
also a sign that they notice that is
Hmm.
right where the bell is. It says that house is doubly blessed, which to thy feline friend gives rest. And I thought that was
Hmm.
really interesting that that was on the outside of the gate.
Yeah, it was definitely an introduction to what you were walking into.
Hmm.
And it Okay, it started out, I will admit, it started out with good storyline. You had the good actors of Mr. Penny and Mr. Smith who gave it that comedic flair at the beginning, and
Hmm.
it kept going. And
Yes.
then, of course, you had the I hate to say it, but the moment they came into the parlor, I immediately got Clue vibes.
Yes. I
So it
totally
was like,
agree.
ooh, it was like an early black and white version of Clue.
Hmm.
And then it slowly, once more, devolved into a murder mystery.
It
But
did.
nobody believed it was a murder except for Mr. Smith.
Right. And so before any of the murders took place, she basically read out all the details of her will so people would
Mhm.
know, but she kept one fact from everybody. The only person
Mhm.
who knew this was her maid, and I forget her name.
Abigail.
Abigail, thank you.
Mhm.
Yes, she's the only one that knew because she was the one that would carry out her, like, Henrietta's last wishes.
Mhm.
And so then you have all of these things happen of somebody tried to poison milk, or Henrietta's milk, and then one of the cats dies, and basically Mr. Smith is trying to say, don't drink that. And it
Yeah.
goes from there. And let's see, there were two, three murders. I don't want to
Okay,
give
there
away,
was Henrietta.
yeah, but I don't want to give away everybody
Yes, and then there was that one and that one. So there was three.
total. Yeah.
But yeah, the third one was the only one that, there was this fourth one on its way,
Right. Yes.
but that turned into karma, in my opinion.
Oh, absolutely.
But the one thing that I will totally admit that Orson Welles definitely got a good deal from this cinematographer
Hmm.
because he did a phenomenal job. I mean, it
Yes.
was a black and white movie, but they made a point where you could tell the contrast with especially with the cats, because the
Yeah.
one cat that I felt the most sorry for was that poor black cat.
Oh yeah.
It
He
was
was
like,
everywhere.
yeah, and he stole the show, basically, in my opinion, but
Hmm.
he got a raw deal in all of it, as usual.
Yes.
Uh, and then I thought the irony also of the cat that unfortunately did die
Hmm.
wasn't the black cat, that it was its major opposite.
Yes.
So, but yeah, it was definitely more comedic.
Hmm.
And I think that's what took away from the story for me.
Okay.
Even though I enjoyed the most comedy part of it, I love Mr. Smith, I love Mr. Penny. They were my favorite characters except for the black cat.
Hmm.
Um, now Mr. Penny, he reminded me so much of Mr. Magoo
Yes, I could see that. I could
and the
totally.
absent-minded professor and all those typical slapstick Marx Brothers. And it kind of got a little annoying. It was funny, but then it just kept going, and it was like you should have reined him in on a few things because it started detracting from everything, in my opinion.
Right. Well, and it, I kept in my mind going, if what would this movie have been had it been an Abbott and Costello movie?
Yeah, and actually, and that was one of the things I was going to say is it definitely feels like one of the Abbott and Costello like meets Frankenstein, meets
Mhm.
Wolfman. So
Yeah.
that's what I started thinking about. And there was even one moment when it was like I thought I was watching Abbott and Costello because they fell into one of their routines.
Oh,
And I went,
absolutely.
no, no, we don't do that. But it was interesting and they did it very well.
Yeah.
Like I said,
They had great
like I said,
chemistry. Yeah.
yes. Mr. Smith, Broderick, what's his
Crawford.
name? Broderick Crawford, yeah.
Mhm.
Can't remember his last name.
Yeah.
Broderick Crawford, an excellent actor. I mean, he if I had to pick out of the movies that we've done so far, even with the greats of Bela Lugosi and
Boris Karloff.
Boris Karloff and all of them, he would have to be, to me, the turning point of theater.
Hmm.
And when you were talking about moving theater, movies and everything, because the steady progression and all this right here to me felt like the stepping stone into the next era
Yeah.
because he pretty much carried the whole movie and the whole cast, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
He totally did. And just
Yes.
to kind of give like a little background of Broderick Crawford, he
Hmm.
probably the biggest movie he was in was All the King's Men in 1949. He played Willie
Hmm.
Stark. He was also in Born Yesterday, which is with Judy Holliday and William Holden. If you haven't seen that one, it's a great film. It's comedic. It's got some musicality in it. He was also in Convicted in 1950, and then he's done several other things. He's got a very long list on his filmography, but those were probably the
Hmm.
biggest things he was known for. So excellent actor.
Very much so. And it it had a good storyline, but it was not an Edgar Allan Poe story by any means.
Oh no,
It had the mimics of certain things.
mhm.
Uh like it tried to play off on the gothic and the those kinds of things. Didn't do it very well, but they tried. So it wasn't until, in my opinion, the very end that we actually saw true Edgar Allan Poe influence. Because
Absolutely.
even though there was a black cat running around, that was it. It was just a name only, black cat.
Yeah, and every time something bad happened, the black cat was there. And Mr. Smith was allergic to cats, so if they didn't know that there was a cat around, he started sneezing, so you knew there was a
Hmm.
cat somewhere close. And then, yeah, every time something bad happened, so again, it kind of promoted that black cats are like bad and spooky and everything else.
Well, and it also made a point of saying that every time the black cat came around, that person would die. If
Yes,
the black cat was
yes.
around that person would die. So
Mhm.
they were playing off of the mythos of the poor black cats and the bad,
Yes.
wonderful stuff.
The house was definitely like a creepy old mansion, a haunted house, full of secret passages,
Mhm.
dark shadows around every corner, had candles, the big windows and
Storm that came out of nowhere as
the
usual.
storm, had the creepy music, everything to mix in together to create a fantastic murder mystery. And
Hmm.
the thing I want to say too is Abigail, Gail Sodengard,
Hmm.
that actress reminded me so much of the movie Rebecca and the actress Judith Anderson who played Mrs. Danvers. That
Hmm.
stoic look, all dressed in black, just like collar up to here, her hair all bound up, and it was like mimicking that so much.
She was the quintessential stereotype for not only the gatekeeper, the
Yes,
housekeeper, but they definitely played off of the witchy vibes.
absolutely. Yes.
So she did an excellent job too.
She did. She really did. Yeah, and I'm not going to say there was one point where they find her in something and that seems like a coffin, and the
Hmm.
black cat is in there with her, and they all think she's dead. She's not, but I don't, that's not really giving away too much because it happens really quickly. But they're all scared of her, especially Mr. Smith and Mr. Penny.
Yes, because they're like, okay.
Oh
It
yeah.
was it was interesting and that poor once I said the poor black cat. That poor black cat just ended up everywhere.
Yeah.
And you're like, how in the world did they get there? But then, if anyone has an actual cat, it's possible.
Oh, yeah. Well, and the cat used the secret passages when people were going in
Hmm.
and out of them. The black cat was with
Yep.
some of them. And
Yep. Black
so,
cat was using them just as much.
yeah. And so when the first attempted murder happens with the poison, you just see a hand. You don't see
Hmm.
any kind of figure or anything else. And then throughout the movie, you see a hooded figure come and go in the shadows behind the curtain.
Hmm.
The killer's also trying to steal the copy of the will that Mr. Penny has. And you see these hands coming out, I guess, oh, with that
Yes.
background, that looked weird.
Yeah. Like, oh, there comes the background of the hand coming out of nowhere. There we go.
Exactly. And so, building up the suspense and, like Jeannie said, the storm happened and it had all the right elements for a murder mystery.
Yeah, it had both the written and the visual elements that we all come to expect for murder slash comedy slash fantastical uh, thoughts and processes of
Hmm.
what? Because I kept doing that quite a bit too, going, no.
Yeah. And
It's
then,
very few though, but it was great cinematography.
yeah.
They had actors that really can keep your attention on this one.
Hmm. Absolutely.
And that I think caught my attention more than anything was the development of the actors.
Hmm.
And it wasn't so, it wasn't so bogged down in the story like some of the previous movies that we've had to deal with.
That is
Because
true. Yeah.
yeah.
And it was the biggest cast I think we've had to like talk about so far.
Well, the biggest cast that were quintessential to the story.
Right.
Now we've had some that there was a lot of cast in there, but some of them were just background
Oh, yeah. That's
support.
I'm talking about like actual like
Yeah.
yes, major roles and
Yes.
supporting roles.
Yeah.
And also tying into the whole creepy vibe. At one point, someone tries to use the telephone and the lines cut. Um, it kept on and on and on. And the one thing I thought that was really interesting is that Elaine's character and Claire's character, those two actresses looked so much alike.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes it was like, hold on, which one was that?
Yeah.
But it was like I think Elaine kept her hair kind of up more than
Mm.
Claire.
She definitely kept hers in that tight roll type
Yeah,
of around the, whereas Claire had hers more boofy.
yeah, it was
That
creepy. Yeah.
yeah. So you could, and the one way that I kept them apart
Mhm.
to being able to identify them because they were so very close
Yes.
was their dress, how they dressed.
Hmm.
That's when I would see the dressing, then I would go, "Oh, I know which one that is."
That's true. And I was gonna say, talking about costumes, it opens up the first scene when once Mr. Smith, Mr. Penny get into the house, everyone is dressed up like they went, to a ball or some kind of party. And
Very formal.
yes, very formal. And just it was, I wrote down a note that, typical costumes of old Hollywood glamour,
Mhm.
from that era, they looked absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it was most definitely 40s era
Hmm.
with their
Absolutely.
dress styles, their hairstyles. Now, I caught that at one point Claire's outfit, which was really interesting,
Mhm.
had the uniform, the military uniform style, and
Yeah.
even had two bars on the one sleeve,
Hmm.
which I thought was very interesting.
Yeah.
That was kind of giving homage to the wax.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was the dress, and that was how they would style the outfits, and that's how they would be different from the male. And
Hmm.
I thought, well, that's cool. I wonder if the costumer did that on purpose.
You kind of wonder. That is
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah, and of course, me who loves fashion, loves to sew vintage outfits. I loved all of their dresses and different
Hmm.
things because it was absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, the nightgowns were very silk, very, they even had the silk with the fur sleeves, and I'm
Yes.
going, okay, that would be crazy.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be walking around in that, but okay.
but even like in the early 30s, they had that style of sleeve too, with the feathers and all of that.
Yes, so there was a lot of nuances that you can definitely get from the time period.
Hmm.
Great uh, introduction to the change of the filmmaking industry, in
Hmm.
my opinion,
Yeah.
and actors and story starting to come together
Yeah.
instead of it being one or the other. This
Yeah.
was where they were starting to come together and be be a part of each other. And that was interesting to me.
Yeah. I totally agree with you. It had I guess it, it's almost formulaic with all of the things that,
Hmm.
contained. And kind of like with what you said, you made a comment just a minute ago, Jeannie. This is after the pre-code era, because that ended in around 19, or that started in 1934, where the censorship guidelines came in. And
Hmm.
so, even though they were in their night clothes, they were not that there was nudity in those pre-code films, but it was a lot looser and more cut low, and they didn't really mask things as well back,
Hmm.
where the guidelines came into play.
Yeah. It was definitely less Betty Boop.
Yeah.
It had a little nuance to Betty Boop,
Hmm.
but they kept it very close, close to the vest. No pun intended, but
Oh
yes, definitely
gosh.
pun. Um,
Own the pun. Always own the
I'm
pun.
I am on the pun all the time. Okay. Uh,
Absolutely. And we don't want to give away the one element that besides just having a black cat in the movie, just like the
mhm,
1934 version did, we don't want to give away the other element that is so close to the black cat
mhm.
story. So we're going to keep that as a secret. So, because we want you to go watch it and find that for yourself.
And I will say that, like other things, there was more uh allusion to other Edgar Allan Poe influences rather than just the one black cat.
Yeah.
I mean, I caught definitely premature burial in there.
Hmm.
You had a little bit of the satire that he loves and, so much.
Absolutely. Yeah, he would have, even though it was definitely not the story, the original
Mhm.
story of the Black Cat, he would have
Right.
loved the humor. Totally.
Yes, it would have been right up his alley with this.
Hmm. Yeah, Alley
I
Cat.
liked it. I liked it for that time. For that, yeah, alley cats. Yay. So
Trying,
it was a good one
absolutely. I was looking at
for
my
the
notes
most part.
to see if there's any other thing that I wanted to talk about before we give our Raven calls and Black Cat hisses. I
Yeah.
just, it going into this movie, and I can talk about this more with when I score it. Well, I tell you what, let me say this before. So this is another Universal picture. And
Hmm.
so coming from Universal, they at this point, it had been 10 years since Dracula, and they really knew how to make a horror movie. Um, and adding in some comedic elements in this one was really pretty neat. Um,
Yeah.
and I noticed just, and granted, it's going to be several seasons before we get to the 1980s, but I did notice on IMDb there is another movie called The Black Cat from 1981.
Oh
So
yeah. There's a lot
there
coming.
are a
They
lot,
love
yes, and Telltale
they
Heart
love to
especially.
redo them. They love to redo them and
Yes.
redo them.
But the one thing I will say is that with Universal doing this film, they know what they're doing, you know,
Hmm.
and
They're
yeah,
definitely getting it.
yeah, you can't take that away from them.
Mhm. No, they have the monster and the horror on lock.
Yeah,
But now they're trying to get the comedy and the story to step up.
absolutely. And at this point, there were a lot more comedies coming into play.
Hmm.
This was, during the whole noir phase. And, noir, most don't have that much comedy. Occasionally there'll be a comedic line here or there, but that's more banter between a male and female character or something.
Right.
Um, and so,
Casablanca pops into my head from that.
yeah, exactly. And so, you know, we can't say too much more about the film because we'll be giving too much away.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, I can't say anything else because if we do, then we're giving away good plot devices to the movie
Yes,
that we shouldn't. So people
exactly.
need to watch it on their own and make their own decisions from here on out because that's the one thing I hate more than anything is ruining the story.
Yeah, I totally agree. And, the killer is found. We're not going to say
Mhm.
how and where, anything like that. And then at the very end, after all of that's done, there's a very
Yeah.
cute little scene at the very ending that I think
Yes.
that everybody will like. I was just like, oh, I love this.
Yeah, I was partially surprised that they actually put and that type of ending to it because in
Mhm.
my opinion it wasn't so much an ending. It
Yeah.
was just kind of a wrap up with your favorite characters
Yeah. Yeah.
because it really didn't, in all actuality, didn't really answer a lot of questions in the ending. It just gave a good closure.
Absolutely. Because I mean, there was some romance, there was some,
Mhm.
you know, question of infidelity. I mean, there was almost every single element.
Elephant.
Is there
Yeah,
an elephant in the
elephant.
room?
Yeah, there was an elephant in the room, that was for
Called
sure.
the black cat.
Exactly.
But yes, there was almost every element of,
Mhm.
yeah, I guess all the tropes,
Yep.
for,
They hit the tropes,
yep,
definitely.
yeah,
But they did it for
a
pretty
reason.
good. Pretty good, yeah.
So I guess, Jeannie, it is time for our black cat hisses and our raven.
And Raven Call.
I actually already wrote mine out, so I
Well, you
just,
can go right ahead.
all right. So do you know what yours are going to be?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. So start with the positive. And
Mm-hmm.
I said that I'm going to give it 5 Raven calls
Wow.
because I think the movie did have a plot. It was not a Poe story,
Mm-hmm.
but the plot itself was fun. The storyline was fun. Um,
Mm-hmm.
the costumes again, the golden age of Hollywood, that's my thing. So just I can't help that. Now if they were
Okay.
dressed poorly, I might not have,
That's okay.
And then I thought the humor was fun with the faux Abbott and Costello. I really wish,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I would really like to see Abbott and Costello do this movie.
Yes.
And of course, the setting, like we've talked about, was really great. It just the epitome of a haunted house or spooky house and all the things. And
Mm-hmm.
then I'm not the one last thing I wrote on here. It's about the black cat, and I can't say so because it will give too much away.
Okay.
And then the actors were great. That very
Mm-hmm.
well cast, and they gave a great performance. I could almost see this being a better play than a movie, though.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that one.
It would be a fun play. And then, so for Black Cat Hisses, I give it a 2. And the main reason is because it could have been more Poe-like. I think
Mm-hmm.
they could have fit a little bit more from the story than they did.
Okay. That's
Because the
understandable.
you know the narrator in the Black Cat, he becomes an alcoholic. They could have had a character be reminiscent of that. They could have had, you know, a wife feel like she's being betrayed by the husband because of
Mm-hmm.
that kind of thing. But it's okay that they didn't, because the one point where it is very Poe, that's what gave me, like, that really solidified it to be 5 Raven calls with just the 2 black cat hisses.
That's good. That's good.
Okay.
Unfortunately,
I
I'm
know, I
not as
knew this was coming.
I'm not as optimistic as you are on certain things.
That's
As
okay.
far as the Raven cause, I I only gave it a 3.
Okay.
And that is because to me, I agreed with a lot of what you said. The acting was better.
Mm-hmm.
The actors were phenomenal. The storyline had an interesting storyline.
Mm-hmm.
However, a lot of things were way too contrived for me.
Okay.
It just, I had to, and I'm going to be honest here, I had to keep stopping and getting away from the movie and coming back to finish it
Okay.
because I was just so, oh, I was just going, I can't believe that they did that. No, no. This is just, at one point I dozed off. So it kind of got it. Okay. But like I said, I was kept entertained by Mr. Penny to some point until it got too much.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like you, I wish it had more of the Edgar Allan Poe elements in some instances,
Yeah.
but for um, what they did do, I gave it the three because it is definitely stepping up
Yeah.
to more movie that we are can appreciate. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, as for the Black Cat Hisses, I'm gonna give it a three also
Okay.
because to me it was like two sides of a coin. The Black Cat Hisses that I would like to give it kind of go along with what I just said. It was too contrived in certain aspects of it. They missed a lot of instances where they could have done a little bit better because they were trying too hard to be comedic.
Mm-hmm.
And by trying too hard to be comedic, it went way, way off.
Okay.
And there was some melodrama in there that was just really bad, just really bad. And then at some point, I did feel so bad for Bela Lugosi. I wish I could
Yeah.
have seen more of him in the movie
Yes.
because I was like, ooh, he's in that. Great.
Yeah.
Not that he did a bad job. I'm just saying that we've been so used to, well, I say we as me and you, everybody else might be feeling a little different, but you're used to Bela Lugosi having an impact, more of an impact in
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
I was, wholly disappointed that he wasn't. Now, he did a good job for what he did, but I just thought he was underutilized and that maybe they may have just stuck him in this movie just to make the movie.
Yes,
So,
and to lure in,
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
mesmerize people to come.
Yeah, to make the movie be, alluring for the audience to make money.
Yeah.
So that kind of got me on that one. So that's why three Raven Caws and then on the other side three Black Cat Hisses.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it definitely was good enough to watch,
Mm-hmm.
but not good enough to rewatch, in my opinion.
Okay.
So that's my take on it.
Okay. Now, fair, hey, fair assessment. And the thing is, we're not going to like, as we've found, every single
Mm-hmm.
Poe adapted film. Um, and we're going to like some for different reasons, and some we're going to
Yep.
absolutely hate. I mean, and
Yes.
you hate to say that, but it is what it is.
Yeah, and that's the whole point that one of the reasons we're doing this is because we want to uh, examine how other people are utilizing Poe,
Absolutely.
whether it's good or bad. And in
Hmm.
some instances so far, I've seen a lot more bad than I've seen good.
Yeah, and I mean, because of the main scene we don't want to give away, this
Mhm.
black cat was so much better than the 1934 version
Oh yeah.
because it was just a black cat running through the movie a couple times. I mean,
Hmm.
I don't know what this black cat's real name was, but He,
He definitely should have, or she, he or
yeah,
she, I think at the
yes,
end they made it a she,
yeah,
um, that he definitely should have had her own name in lights and her own credits.
yes. And I'm just curious. I'm gonna look and see if on the credits on IMDb, if the cat's listed. You never know.
Yeah.
No, they're not.
Well, I love how they had two Siamese kittens, and that was a play on the Lady and the Tramp.
Yeah,
Did you catch that?
I did see that. Yes.
Yes, so they were younger than what the Lady and the Tramp Siamese kitten or Siamese cats, but they definitely played an homage to the Lady and Tramp Siamese kittens. And I think I could be wrong because I can't remember exactly when Lady and the Tramp came out. I thought it was early 40s, but I could be wrong. This could be where Disney got the Siamese kittens or Siamese cats for Lady and the Tramp.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm gonna look it up because I'm now very curious
Because
what
the Siamese kitten definitely didn't take direction very well.
actually Lady and the Tramp was 55.
Okay, so yeah, see,
Well,
right around the
that's
the
14
early times.
years after this film was made.
So Disney could have watched it and went, "Oh, I need those kitties."
That's true. That is very, very true. Or whoever
Well,
wrote the story.
yeah, let's put it for me, it gave homage to the Siamese kittens
Okay.
or Siamese cats for the Lady and the Tramp,
Yeah, but
whether they did
did
or not.
notice them. Yes, and we will say that they where they show that Henrietta had a gazillion cats, they were like all outside when Mr. Smith,
Hmm.
Mr. Penny were walking up to the door, and they were everywhere.
Yeah,
So
which
many
I thought
cats.
was ironic. They were all out the doors except for a very few
Yeah,
that were
black
indoor
cat.
cats, or they
Yeah.
were at the crematorium. The
Yes.
ones that weren't in the house, they were either outside running around or you found them in the vases in the crematorium,
Yeah. Yeah.
which was creepy in itself.
I know. It that I was like, okay.
And I love how they had the statue of Sheba.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I was just curious, so I
Hmm.
actually looked up what was the name of the black cat in the 1941 version of the Black Cat movie. And
Hmm.
what came up is that its name was Pluto.
Oh,
Very
that's
apropos.
yeah. Well, they should have made that a part of the movie instead of in the
No,
extra credits.
because I don't remember anyone ever calling the cat by its name.
No, they never called any of the cats by names. And if they did talk about any of the cats, it was just always the black cat. The
Mm-hmm.
black cat. I saw the black cat.
Yeah,
I'm like, well, let's hammer that title home.
exactly.
Well,
Oh,
so in essence, that was the Black Cat of 1941.
yes, it was. So, Jeannie, what are we watching for next month?
Oh, I believe it is the tale of Marie Roget, but let me double
Oh,
check.
yes, I forgot about that.
I'm pretty sure because remember we're going in order, and I
Mm-hmm.
I remember there's some of them that were shorts that were like 10 minutes, and I'm like, no, we don't need
Yeah,
to
we're
do
not
that
going
for
to review those.
yeah, no, we don't need the 10-minute marks.
No, that, well, we'd
Yes,
have to review several in one episode for that.
actually, IMDb categorizes this as the farce, the 1941 Black Cat. They
Oh,
actually put
interesting.
on there as a farce.
Okay.
Okay, so yes, it is The Mystery of Marie Roget,
What year?
starring Maria Montez, Patrick Knowles, and Maria Ospenk Ospenk Ospenkas.
Ospenskaya. Oh, I love
Yeah,
her.
Ospenskaya, and directed by Phil Rosen.
Okay.
So yes, and
What
this one
year?
actually has It says, here's the premise. A detective tries to unravel the strange circumstances surrounding the death of a young actress.
Okay.
So they've made it more theatrical.
Okay.
It's
Yes.
a 1942 version.
1942. Okay. I made
Hmm.
a note so I can get that watched by next month.
Exactly. And then for anyone who's watching, catch us at Poe Unplugged and join us for the upcoming. We're reading The Assignation this Tuesday,
Mhm.
March the 27th.
25th. 25th.
25th. Okay. Well, that's Thursday. I went 2 days too ahead. So yeah.
Tuesday, Poe Unplugged, March 25th, The Assignation.
Yes. And if you want to sign up, just head over to our website, 6degreesofpoe.com. Is it
Mhm.
6 degrees of Poe or 6 degrees of Edgar Allan Poe?
Nope, the website is 6degreesofpoe.com.
Okay. Just making sure. So yeah, head
And
on over there and we'd love to
yes,
see you and check us out on, of course, our YouTube channel at Poe Unplugged 3978.
yes.
And we would
And
love to have you to follow us.
yes, definitely subscribe to our channel so you
Mhm.
can get all of these Poe-tastic Poe videos and audio.
Meet Poetastic people. We
Yes,
have all
lots of
these wonderful people.
yes, with our Poe discussions. And
Mhm.
then Saturday, the 29th, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Central Time. Come
Yes.
on Poe Unplugged live for our poetry reading, which is the event to kick off our poetry contest that is
Yes.
called well, it's this year, it's the third annual Poet Like Poe Poetry Contest.
Yes, and we will start accepting submissions on April the 1st through
Yes.
May the 15th. You can submit your work. We would love to see it, love to have it. We have 9 judges lined up and ready to read,
And they're
and we
all
would,
Poe-tastic people.
yes, Poe peoples. They're Poe peeps.
Yes.
We love them.
Mhm.
You've probably seen us with them, talk to them on our website,
They've
everything.
all
So,
been on the show. So,
mhm.
yes.
Yep. So thank you for joining us once more for our review morgue of The Black Cat of 1941.
Yes. On that note, Jeannie,
We
we
are
are
Poe.
out.